Yeah, I know we're running out of time and kind of running late, but I just wanted to take go out of the way and then take a real short time to.
We will go to the next session after this without a break. Just wanted to let you in advance because of shortage of time.
No, I was going to say actually, take the time out and just wanted to thank the organizers of this conference. I'm not sure if you'll have a time separated for that. So this is being a first conference, but we're already enjoying this conference. Great sessions and everything's going really great. So just wanted to thank the organizers. Yeah, let's give them a big round of applause. Yeah. And I'm not saying this because John and his company invested in our company, but so again, my name is Chang, and I'm the CEO of Tapas Media. We're building tapastic.com, which is like YouTube for webcomics. So it's a free publishing platform and reading platform for webcomics. So you can go to tapastic.com, or you can also search Tapastic on the App Store. So, I guess like plugging about myself, and obviously, this is not about me. This is about these people here. So, welcome to the fireside chat, even though we don't have a fireside. So here we are with Ben and Emily He from Cheezburger Network. And Cheezburger Network is obviously, you can see the booklet to get more information, but it's one of the leading internet humor content sites. And even though they don't need a lot of introductions probably, every time you have a reality TV about you and your company, you don't need much introduction, right? Which is the case for them. But still, for those people who may not be familiar about you and the company, can you do a quick introduction about yourselves and the company?
Sure. So I started the company back in 2007, primarily because I had a job I didn't like. So it wasn't like a grand master plan. I'm an entrepreneur. That's who I am. I love the idea of building businesses. I had no idea how to run a media company. We basically started out by buying this website called I Can Ask Cheezburger, which had photos of cats. Right? Not exactly like an amazing Valley-style change the world start. But then one thing led to another. We were basically on the leading edge of this user-generated content curve, the internet memes and things like that. And to be honest, I had no idea how to even pronounce meme. Like M-E-M-E doesn't sound like, does it look like it's pronounced meme?
Right, meme or.
Yeah, right, so I had no idea. And so like, I got this amazing kind of cold education into this world of internet culture. And from there, we run Fail Blog, Meme-Based, Know Your Meme, Daily What. So we've been able to grow this cat picture website business into a profitable and growing enterprise. And we took venture capital a few years ago to continue to expand on that. And so Emily's been there since the beginning. She had two jobs. She'd go to her real job and then do her job and come home and like help me out. Yeah.
Emily?
I guess I can't really add too much more to Ben's kind of story, but yeah, it's been quite the journey since 2007 of working together and building this company to more than just cats. I think that's something we've had a lot of fun, just building more of a humor destination. Because when we first did this, I think both of our parents were very surprised that we were doing this. I think
they'd ask us, like, you guys still need money?
Yeah, I think
like,
still even last year, my parents said, "Are you sure? Should we buy you some food?
Are you guys both coming from the family
money?"
where, like the typical Asian family, where you either have three choices basically, right? Like either doctor or dentist or lawyer. Are you coming from that background or?
Yeah. In fact, her brother is a doctor and an MBA. He got it at the same time. So we're like the runt of the litter, right? We're like the losers of the family.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable laughter from the audience.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But no, still to this day, my parents say, "Oh, the site is so messy. I don't understand what this is about." But they obviously see us, in interviews and that we're doing well. So they're like, "I think you guys are doing okay."
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So today we'll talk about roughly three things. One is about the Cheezburger Network, the company, and the second part would be about the entrepreneurship in general, and the third part, obviously fitting to the theme of the conference, we'll talk about some of the Asian, Korean stuff, and Silicon Valley, US. So let's start with the company. So so how long has it been? Since 2007, right?
Yeah,
so roughly 7?
So actually, we're going on 6 years this month.
Cool. So over the 6 years, right? Obviously, a lot of different things happened, and 6 years is a long time. But can you guys remember a couple things that you did really, really well? It's like one of those strategic decisions that you made And looking back, there was like that moment, right? I mean, can you recall some of that?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons I think the media and the public is so fascinated with our story is that it's very unconventional. Like, it wasn't one of your, here's a market, here's a technology, we went to market, pivoted, all that stuff. Here's a meteoric growth that, all of a sudden showed up out of nowhere. Our business was, we bought this website, raised $2.25 million of angel investment. We ran it profitably for the first 3 years. And it was not a hockey stick. It was a very steady up and to the right growth. And our philosophy was, we don't have a grand plan. We want to make sure that we can live to pay the bills next month, right? We can continue to run a profitable business, and if we can grow it, that'd be great. And we'll just keep trying new ideas and try what sticks and continue to grow with what works. And then when we actually reached a point where we felt we had grown very large, we did the opposite of what normal people do and decide that we wanted to lose money, that we wanted to build. And so we raised $30 million from a set of really amazing venture capitalists, which is a staggering number if you think about putting it into and we did that back in 2011. And since then, we've added technology. We've revamped our executive team. We've done a lot of things that a profitable company should never do. And I think just being unorthodox, if somebody tells you, hey, you need to do X, doing Y is sometimes just as good.
So we're talking about like starting from a scrappy startup to, you mentioned like $2.5 million and then $30 million. So obviously very different. As you're going through different phases, were you facing like different, I guess, like cultures, or were there any changes that you had to make it dramatically, or yeah?
I think definitely in the past 2 years, the culture has been very different when we were just 10, 15 people in just a small room subleasing from someone else, where it was that really scrappy, you're just going to do whatever, you're going to throw whatever against the wall to see what works. And I think adding to what Ben said, why we were so successful in the beginning is because we were willing to fail. One of our sites is called Failblog, and of course, we have to try anything and everything, and we were able to fail quickly. I think what we learned is we learned from our mistakes fast. When we saw something wasn't doing well, we quickly either closed it down or just moved on to something else. So I think that was something that was key in our culture in the beginning, of just being willing to try and experiment. As you get bigger, it is harder to move as quickly.
Yeah, there's more money at stake, right? Like losing $2 million of somebody's money is a lot of money, but losing $30 million is a lot more money. Like, it's an order of magnitude of risk, and your company starts to adapt in ways that you can't even recognize until 6 months in. You're like, okay, well, you got to go back to making sure people understand that taking less risks is not acceptable.
Cool. So I was kind of like starting to realize how fast time goes. Yeah. We were given like 25 minutes and down to like 11. So let's go to the next set of questions, which is about the entrepreneurship in general. So I'll actually boil it down to just one question, which is, obviously we have a lot of entrepreneurs in this room, but at the same time, there might be people who are part of like a bigger company, and then like kind of like in the back of their mind, they were like secretly hoping like one day I'm going to become an entrepreneur. Is there any piece of advice you have for these people? I want to help people understand that entrepreneurship is not risk-taking purely in and of itself. Entrepreneurship is successful entrepreneurship is the difference between opportunity and risk. If you have a greater opportunity than the risk cost, that's the gain that you're going to get by being an entrepreneur. So part of my job is to encourage my company to take smart risks in the face of amazingly large opportunities. We feel that the landscape of media and entertainment is going to continue to shift. We think that there's an enormous amount of money in advertising to be made. We actually divested of millions of dollars of revenues in the last couple of years because we wanted to focus on advertising. There's $60 billion in TV advertising spend that is not on the internet today. 60 billion. That is like magnitudes larger than what is being spent on internet display advertising today. And then you also have the problem of like you're wasting the half of it. You just don't know what which half it is, right?
Yeah. In fact, we're held to a very different standard. Like, it's completely unfair in digital media to be held to very high metrics, and on TV you're like, well, that's what we always do. Right? That's bullshit. But we're going to deal with that, and we have to educate the advertisers that we are a better option. Well, that's an amazing opportunity for us, and as entertainment changes, every time a new form factor of phones or tablets or Roku or Apple TV comes out, it is completely obliterating user behavior when it comes to the past. And every time that happens, if you're nimble, if you're willing to take smart risks, you can win that battle. And if I have a 1% shot at winning a $1 billion market, then that's worth millions of dollars worth of investment.
Awesome. Emily, do you have anything to add to that, or shift gears?
Ben went off there.
That's what I do.
Well, I think my quick thing is, you know, we've had some people that have worked at big companies, Microsoft, Amazon, join us, and I think anyone can, you know, be an entrepreneur, start their startup. I think that's a kind of a misnomer where people said, oh, I've been working at big companies, I can't do this, I can't leave this safe zone, but you know, anyone can do that, and we've had the people that have joined us from bigger companies and have just had an amazing time to think outside the box,
well,
be creative.
You also tell them you don't have 2 assistants.
That's true.
We're not going to get you your lunch.
Lack of resources.
There's no dry cleaning service.
Expectation management.
We're still working on a 401k. You know, like you're going to change some of the stylistical things. Right. But if the mindset is I am willing to work my ass off and rethink what I think of the world to make a difference here, and I believe in the mission, those people are amazing cultural fits.
Right. I think it's when they realize they have a change, they can actually have substantial change within the company, right? When there's only 40 people, they can really have a value add to the company versus maybe something that has 100,000
So
people.
we just hired a new chief operating officer / president. So I've been recruiting him for 3 months. His name's Scott Moore. He was the former head of US media for all of Yahoo and the general manager of MSN. He works at a 50-person company now. He used to have like 5,000 people work for him, and now he's working at a 50-person company. Right?
That's
it's
an awesome
amazing.
story.
And it's like, I'm so happy to convince him to take this leap. And he felt internally that he wanted to do this at some point in his career, and this was the right time.
I think that's a key difference. I mean, this might be a good segue into the different culture and stuff because, like, you know, U.S. Silicon Valley, you know, like even people working for big companies, you know, they have like again, like I said, you know, they're like, oh, like one day I want to go, you know, work at a startup. So I think that's a key difference. Like in Asia, a lot of people actually don't even think about that possibility. So, so again, you know, this can be a good segue into the next topic, which is quite, you know, fitting to the subject of this conference, which is, you know, Korea, Asia, and Silicon Valley, U.S. And obviously, whenever you know try to bring something from one country, one part of the world to another, you know, there's a challenge, right? So there's interesting questions of like, does it make more sense to start something on, you know, in your country and then in your market, and then try to make it big, and then try to, you know, take it outside of that market, or, you know, does it make more sense to come here directly and start something here? So what is your take on that? Like, you know, for you know, the Korean entrepreneurs, I mean, like almost every Korean entrepreneur that I talk to, they're like, oh, like one day, you know, I'm going to go to Silicon Valley because, you know, that's where the market is. So do you guys have any ideas, opinions about it?
Yeah, every time you start a company, you're bringing a butter knife to a gunfight, okay? You're showing up to a battle in which there are people with more money, who's done it longer, who understand the market better, with more experience, is fighting to actually win that market. Step 1, survive to fight another day. Whether it means doing it in your home market or finding traction in the middle of like Ethiopia, because for some reason your product works better in Ethiopia and you figure out how to like make money, fantastic. Because that's going to give you the resources and the experience and the learning to go after another market. So for us, when we started with buying this little website, well not little, this weird website called I Can Ask Cheezburger, which had a bunch of cat photos on it, it wasn't because we believe in the power of cat photos. Like, if we did, no one else would at the time anyway. It's because we felt that that was going to give us a starting point into a market that we can learn more about and understand and actually grow. So from there, we ended up buying this site called Failblog. And then the world economy failed, and people started Googling the word fail, apparently. And if you Google the word fail and pressed I'm feeling lucky, it took you to Failblog. Right? Like, what a fortuitous event. We got lucky, but we set ourselves up for some of that luck. Right? You always have a combination of the two. So if you're starting a company and your job is to satisfy the needs of your customers, it doesn't matter where they are. And if you start out with a market that you know and then it starts to morph and you run with it, that's how great entrepreneurs pivot, adapt, and grow their business. And then you can use that to pursue your vision. But you cannot subjugate the customer under your vision from the get-go and say, I believe in something that my customers don't.
I mean, just imagine, you know, this is an interesting, I guess, like thought experiment, right? I mean, imagine, I mean, obviously you guys are entrepreneurs, but imagine you're, you know, venture capitalists. And, you know, you're like reviewing, let's say, you know, 10, you know, 15 different teams that are coming from like, you know, Korea, for example, and then, you know, they all, you know, believe in their product and stuff. But obviously, you know, every time somebody brings a new stuff to you know, US Silicon Valley, there's a, you know, cultural difference, there's challenges, right? Imagine if you were investors and you were looking at this like, you know, 10, 15 different teams, like, would you, what would actually make you decide to invest in one of these companies? Like if this team had like X, Y, and Z, X factor,
Traction,
Y factor,
traction,
Z factor.
traction.
Okay.
Right. I mean, like that's the proof is in the pudding. I started a company back in 2001. Back in 2000. I remember like the first 3 months of my job was trying to figure out how do I pay for my hosting costs, because it's going to take me 6 months to set up like 2 terabytes worth of storage capacity. Like it required big storage, and it was like really super difficult. Today it's a line of code from AWS. Right. The startup costs and the running costs of technology organizations have been reduced to virtually zero. If you can get a credit card, you can start a technology company. Right? So if that's the case, the VCs are going to ask you, how do I know you're better than somebody else? Where should I give you my money? Because it's their money. It's up to, like, we have no right to VC money, right? We complain about it all the time, but it's their freaking money. So I need to prove to you that I can do something, right? What can I accomplish? Not theoretically, but if the startup cost of running a company you can put on a credit card, then you can actually prove to me that you can get some customers, some eyeballs, some product value. Getting traction is the most important thing in a startup's life today.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, I mean, even though we don't have a lot of time, I just wanted to open it up to the audience, and then just try to see if anyone from the audience has any questions for these people. Let's open it up to the audience. Come on, don't be shy.
If not, we can just keep
yeah,
talking.
otherwise, yeah, we'll save time because we have a lot to.
Oh.
What's my favorite meme? There's a little, it's kind of obscure. There's a picture of a bat on somebody's hand. It's kind of like looking a little sad because there's a person with like a toothbrush, like giving it a bath, and the caption just says brushy, brushy, brushy. I hear some laughter. So by the way, humor's cultural. Okay, so we're popular in very English-speaking Western countries. We are not very popular in Asia. In fact, I think we're blocked in China for a very long period of time.
We're not blocked now.
We're not blocked now.
Free now in China.
Yay.
Well, getting blocked in China is actually a good sign, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're totally awesome. We're not very popular in Korea. We're not very popular in Japan, even though like our first site had a lot of cats, because humor tends to be very cross-cultural. So you can't just translate it. You have to actually put it in the context of the people and the references that they grew up with. There's a question right here.
Where do you see your company moving from here?
So I think our company's moving to the mainstream.
Right. We're definitely kind of, where we started was just this cat blog, and we have 50 sites, and we're really trying to be this mainstream entertainment destination that people come to us and say, hey, you guys are there if I need something funny. And it is more mainstream, where it can range from cats to sports to fails, and it's kind of just synonymous with humor, just mainstream humor.
Yeah, like 6 years ago when we started, we're this weird corner of the internet where like you don't know what you're gonna find. Today, we're actually dealing with mainstream audiences, 25 million users. We're talking about people who are using their apps in the line at the coffee shop or waiting for the bus, trying to get a few minutes of laughter. And because the world understands what internet culture and memes are about, we know that we're about to break through into that huge, even larger audience. That means we need to understand what mainstream culture is about. That means it's not about the fringe and internet memes per se, but it's techniques and stuff that we learned to serve our customers. Going back to the point of continuing to grow into your customer base, you really have to understand what is it that's going to make them happy for a few minutes a day. And for us, that's really starting to understand Hollywood. Having a reality show didn't hurt. Starting to understand what people's entertainment habits are like, what's going to happen to television, the device, not the format itself. Because we want to be on TV in your home. We want to be present every single day because we want to displace what formats there are today with the more interactive and engaging formats that internet culture brings.
So one of your blogs is Fail Blog, and let's talk a little bit about that. So was there any, again, over the 6 years of experience, was there any oh shit moment? And how did you
so many. There's so many.
Can you recall some of them?
Yeah, every night I would go to sleep. Oh God, please let there be traffic tomorrow. It's like you never knew if you're gonna survive the next day because it felt so weird that you're basically posting pictures people sent you, in email, and then you're like, wow, there's people showing up to read this stuff, right? Because it was so unusual back 6 years ago. I've learned to mellow out a little bit more. Right? There are people in the company who know more about what they do than I do, and so you kind of learn to trust them. But also, I started out thinking that I was running a B2C company. You think a media company is B2C. It's not. It's B2B. Because I'm going out selling six-figure advertising packages to brands and agencies. And so my background was B2B, and I was like, oh, I left that behind. Oh, my God, I don't want to deal with those again. I'm back.
Interesting. Yeah.
About 7 years ago, I started a mobile security company. We raised about $7 million, and we also got experienced executives. And the thing I learned is that like big companies teach you how to spend lots of money, which ended quite badly for us. It's like that, you know, that startup executive fit. You do need the experience, but for us it was quite an expensive mistake. How do you balance that?
So the question is, how do you stop big company people from thinking they can spend big company budgets?
And you just hire somebody from a big company, right?
So we have a spreadsheet that says money you can spend, headcount. And headcount is allocated to each department, and it rolls up to a little number. And we basically, in every exec meeting, look at the number and say, how much have you spent? Like, you got to make data visible, right? That's just a little example of making sure people can react to data. Like, you put a number out there in the middle of your office and say, change that number, move that number, guess what? Everybody will gravitate towards that goal and move that number. You've got to figure out how to leverage data and analytics to motivate your people. And sometimes it's a positive motivation, like, let's go grow something, right? Another one is a control. Financial performance has a lot to do with discipline and control and visibility. And so getting people to argue with the document versus getting people to argue with each other about how much money your department wants to spend versus me, that's a very personal problem. But if I make a Google Doc and everybody looks at it and says, I have this budget, I'm going to argue with the document, they self-regulate. They self-plan.
So it's about sharing information internally and, you know, being like transparent.
Visible, visible, visible. Absolutely visible. KPIs, making sure everybody in your company understands that these 3, 4, 2 metrics are the entire business's KPIs. Like, everybody should know that off the top of the head. You should start every meeting with those KPIs. Like, the art of getting a large organization or even a small organization to work on the same cadence and same focus and same direction is the art of being a CEO. And I think that most people underestimate how much communication and how much repetition, Emily can tell you I'm a broken record, how much repetition is required to get people to understand that you are all in it together to move the same metrics, right? And you got to make that visible in order to make that work.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing. Let's give a hand for the Cheezburger Network.
All right.